e.c., we have the entity here, and those relations with the universe and universal forces, as are latent and exhibited in the present Earth's plane. Now in the development of this entity there are conditions that are worthy of note for those studying that phase of man's development that relates to the Akashic record as is made by each individual, as an individual, and the effect same has on continuity of existence as related to Earth's experience, and of the astrological relations with the Earth. For, while these are as urges in the earthly experience, there is ever that factor to be dealt with, or accounted for in man's individuality, that is called will, as to how this may shape, mould, or change those various experiences of an entity in its relation to the whole. For, remember, each entity has within itself many spheres that are as capable of advancement as the individual itself, changed according to the application of will and material essence to the essence of the whole. In entering the present sphere and experience we find the entity 169 coming under the influence of Jupiter, Mercury, and of Neptune, with variableness in Uranus and Saturn. In the urges as latent and exhibited in the present experience, irrespective of will's application, one ever interested in things pertaining to mystery, and the entity would make an excellent detective. One that has high ennobling influences in the life as respecting own development and relationships to others. This, as seen, would make a variableness, with the urge as directed towards detective work of the general nature, and hence combative in an influence. One of high mental abilities, and the ability to express or to make known to others those of the laws as pertain to mental ability and the application of same as pertaining to varied relationships in the material plane. One that will ever be a student of human nature, hence in accord with that of the detective, or business, or speaking, or writing. Yet one that may, in an incorrect application of the knowledge or judgment concerning same, bring evil influence in life. For the entity, while headstrong in many respects, is easily led or persuaded when that is presented, for the moment, represents any desire felt, for the moment, without due consideration given to the fruit of that desired. In the application of these urges from the astrological influence, first we would find the entity with abilities. Then in the application of the ability, be guided, directed, in that channel of applying will forces and the abilities toward that correct in the way of developing the self and in directing others in development of their selves. For each has its own peculiar niche or place to fill in the affairs, not only of each household, locality, state or nation, but in the universal forces as applied to the entity's abilities, and that responsibility that rests with the entity's application of that attained, or to which it may develop or guide others. Then, be sure self is set aright in the knowledge of that which would develop an entity, and be guided aright in application of self thereto. For there is no foundation set save as in him, that is the way, the life, the light, the water, the vine, and is in him through whom all live, move, and have their being. Then find self and self's relationship to that presented through that life, and govern self and self's relation to others in the light of that applied to self's own experience. In that of likes, dislikes, and the influences in the present experience, one with high ideals. Lover of clean sports, of that brings clean living in the lives of others. Yet this in itself, not guided aright, may be made a stumbling block in self's own development. For, remember, each and every individual views conditions from its own development, and to its own being the conditions are as only so far as each has attained. In the appearances, and the effect, the urges gained from same, in the one before this we find in the land now known as Gennesaret. The entity then was among those that were keepers of the flocks in the fields when the peoples were disturbed by the raids from the Roman rule. The entity gained through this experience, in the name Guidia, For the entity defended a principle and gave to the peoples the better understanding of relationships to those that were in power and those in service. As the effort then is in the present experience towards relationships of the same nature, the entity may apply self and will's forces in a correct manner that will bring to self a greater development in the present experience. For these relations govern that of law and of application of penal as well as moral law. In the one before this we find in the days when there were changes being made in the land now known as Persia. The entity then was among those in power in the land when same was overrun by the peoples from now southern Arabia and from the north, and the entity lost through this experience. For while in power not the good ruler, while not the good servant. For the entity finds himself in the present experience the hardship of taking orders from any. Yet, as is given and as has been seen from that given, to learn to understand self and self's relation is the first law of knowledge, and the application will be that to be served is to be a good servant. In the one before this we find in that period when there was the reconstruction of the division in the land now known as Egypt. The entity then was among those that came in from the north country, and was the younger son of the king who set up the new rule in the land, bringing much to the peoples and gaining the understanding of that taught by those that were put in power, and by the division the entity then gained much in the way of being able to discuss or to understand many sides of a question. This is an urge in the present, as the desire to know more. This is one urge that especially should be developed in the present experience. Know both sides of any question, anything, pertaining to whatever the entity may put self in its entirety. Understand the whole. In the abilities of the entity as seen in the present, these would relate particularly to people and to things, whether of lands or of study of any nature as pertains to law, land, or peoples. And in either of these would the entity make the greater success in the financial ways and manners. Yet for the greater development keep first the understanding of self and self's relationship to others first and foremost. Beware of entanglements with those of the opposite sex, especially those whose birthdays come in May. Beware of conditions as pertaining to bodily ills that have to do with the digestive system. Keep self unspotted from low relationships, and keep thyself bodily clean. We are through.